Hogstye.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hogsty. It is Draft Show Eve, usually one of our favorite shows, just because usually Washington's picking high, and we're going to talk about getting a new superstar, but not this year. As we get ready for the draft, it's going to be on Thursday. For those of you who live under a rock and forgot that the draft is now 8 days long or whatever it is, it's ridiculous. Remember when it was just on the weekends?
They want listen. They want to take advantage of prime time. It's all about ratings, man.
Yep.
No, I get doing that on Thursday. Friday, getting the second round somehow is awful, just because that's the worst day to put stuff on TV. But
I mean, no, I don't know. It's okay.
Originally for the first couple of years, I hated it. Now it's gotten to a point where I actually don't mind it that much. It's
What is Friday like your big party night or something, Dave, or what?
Oh yeah, huge.
See, you're just at home like the rest of us on Friday.
Yeah,
okay?
pretty much
What's
on
the
the
problem?
most part.
We're all.
I mean,
we all are. We're all homebodies, and just because we've aged out of the nightlife.
I was never in the nightlife. Okay.
Steve aged out at 9.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I ever grew into it in the first place.
Right. There was 6 seconds while you were sleeping, and then you aged out.
That was
it.
First off, how was your guys' Easter? Did you guys have a good Easter?
It was a big, huge party weekend, man. Let me tell you.
Sure. I assume you both painted your heads like eggs, and just went all in.
Absolutely. I was dressed like a rabbit the entire weekend.
I crawled into a egg and popped out for my grandson and freaked him out a little bit, but it's all good.
You just traumatized him. You didn't freak him out. No.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not. I dress like a rabbit all weekend. You guys can believe that or not.
Steve's dressing like the Donnie Darko rabbit though the whole time. Reference lost on younger viewers, sadly.
Reference lost on me too, but I can sort of assume what you're meaning by that.
Oh, you would like Donnie Darko. It's a good weird movie.
Who is Donnie Darko? I've never heard this term before.
It's a Jake Gyllenhaal movie from, I don't know, 20 years ago now.
Okay.
Where he like dies and he's traveling through time. It's very weird. It's a whole thing.
And this has to do with rabbits, Hal?
There's a evil rabbit.
Ah,
the whole
okay.
movie.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds. I figured it was something along those lines. So
also, there's a great little Redskins related cutaway because in the very beginning, his dad is just sitting there watching the game where Schroeder gets hurt and Williams comes in and he's like, no, not Doug Williams.
That was in that movie?
Yes. Random cameo about Doug Williams in.
Now I may have to watch this movie.
Don't watch it for that because I just described the entire screen time.
It's one of the few times the Redskins have been mentioned in film though ever. So
yes, that's true. Yes.
I think there was what's not Super 8. That's a hotel. I forget the movie. It's like kind of a mix of a horror flick type of movie, whatever, with these creatures or aliens, whatever it was, and there was this little girl in there that had a gold Redskins jacket on.
I have absolutely no idea whatsoever what you're talking about.
I'm trying to remember the name of the movie because my daughter paused it. It was on Netflix several years ago, and she paused it real quick. She's like, "Dad, look." And I had to look twice, and they didn't blur it out or nothing either.
So for those of you who want to try to find it, it's some movie on Netflix. Go look for it, and it'll have a Redskins reference in it for like 2 seconds.
And of course, in Transformers, what's his name? Anthony Edwards, is it?
I've never seen Transformers.
With the Clinton Portis jersey?
Yeah, he has a Clinton Portis jersey on the whole time. Dan Snyder probably paid millions of dollars for them to have him wear a Clinton Portis jersey.
Probably, yeah.
Throughout that movie. Yes.
He wanted to be paid in hookers.
Right. Not a lot of Redskins references in any movies.
They aren't exactly the hot in team, though. Mind you, it's DC.
Sure.
The Hollywood types have always hated the name.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, even when they finally allowed the NFL to put stuff in movie, because remember the NFL was always against anything being in movies.
Well, the NFL owns their own copyrights, and so legally they can't just put him in movies without the
Right.
NFL's approval. And the NFL was historically been very, very limited in what they put.
Right.
They
They
allowed to be
were
put in movies.
against they
Yes.
were downright anti approving
Yes.
anything. Yeah. Up
That's what
until
there's
like the
been
movie
several
Invincible.
football related movies over decades that have featured phony,
Right.
phony professional football leagues for that reason.
Right.
Right.
That's why The Replacements wasn't actually about Joe Gibbs. That's why Any Given Sunday is about a fake
Yeah, I was
league.
thinking Any Given Sunday was what was popping to my.
Both of those, the NFL was approached and said no.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We could have gotten the greatest movie about Joe Gibbs ever, and instead it's we had Keanu Reeves dancing. So, thanks NFL, you screwed that one up really nicely.
Hey, my understanding is the Air Force passed on Top Gun, so
That's
people
wild,
make
too.
mistakes. I know.
Yeah, that one's even more wild.
They made Iron Eagle instead,
really?
Which was an atrocity.
Which was terrible. Yeah.
Yes.
But they made 6 sequels to it.
That was what, with like Louis Gossett Jr. Right?
Yeah, it was Louis Gossett Jr. Yeah, and some due to the flavor of the month, I don't remember who the other actor was, but Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should talk draft because it is
talking. You knew we were going to get to Iron Eagle on the day.
Yeah, I mean, it was the second thing on my list. It was Happy Easter, Iron Eagle. That's the run of show here.
This is what happens when we do this.
Yeah. All right, Dave. You did a draft projection post that we're going to have up before the actual draft.
Right. It may already be posted now, depending on when you're listening to this. It will be posted at a minimum Thursday.
Yes.
If the plan in my head stays in my head.
As Steve has to spell check the heck out of what Dave and I wrote.
Well, yeah.
That's problem one.
Hey Steve, it's only 3,100 words of grammar and
of horrible grammar and bad punctuation and incorrect tenses and everything. I'm looking forward to
Dave, you have to stop putting emojis in your things.
Hey, one of these days it's going to slip through.
Dave was honest up front when he started this. He said he's not good at this, and I knew that, and so I can't complain. And frankly, Alex, you're almost worse. So neither one of you were good at it. So
that's why I do video for a living.
Yeah, Alex only writes when I call him and ask him to write something because we need something.
Right. All right. So Dave, why don't you did your projection of the draft, and I mean it's draft week, so give us your round one projections. Let's talk about it. Where do you see some of these big names going? Well, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I think the number one overall pick is a pretty obvious one. There's not much talk of them moving out of this pick or anything with Tennessee Titans, but Cam Ward. I mean, he's clearly the top quarterback in this draft. He has 5 years of starter experience in 5 years of starting time in college. He has the arm.
Mm-hmm.
He processes the field very well. He's a very good quarterback. I think he's an immediate impact day one he gets on the field. Yep. I mean, there's no other direction Tennessee should go with this than that.
You're desperate for a quarterback, and there's one good quarterback.
I was going to say, in my view, I think this guy is really the only quarterback realistically worth a draft pick in which you have to hope he becomes a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
I think 3 are going to be taken in this first round anyway.
That doesn't mean that they all should be, though.
Right. I agree with you. I agree with both those statements. Truthfully, the other quarterbacks we're mentioning are probably late first rounders in a normal year, but it is a starved draft when it comes to that position. So, that is what it is.
Next.
The Cleveland Browns. I think they toy with the idea of maybe looking at a Shedeur Sanders, but I mean, he's not ready to be the number 2 overall pick. He's got so much grooming he's got to do. I think he's got the ceiling to be a good quarterback. I just don't think this is the right spot for him. I think the Browns ultimately will entertain offers to move back, but when all said and done, I think they stay put and just take Travis Hunter at this spot.
I mean, I'm not. Travis Hunter is immensely talented. I really hate his attitude.
Sure.
I don't like guys like this, and threatening to retire, not play. I didn't use the word retire, which is ridiculous. Be grateful and be humble. You don't always need to take a page from the Deion Sanders school of,
me.
conduct. Yeah. So I can't get behind this. I mean, he's a talent. Cleveland's going to ruin him because they ruin everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's going to be catching balls from Joe Flacco and then, having to play defense against Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow.
That's right. It's going to go horribly wrong.
Yes.
And then pick 3 are wonderful New York Football Giants. And unfortunately, we're going to see Abdul Carter from Penn State twice a year. And he is clearly head and shoulders the best edge rusher in this draft. The only thing about him, though, is that he doesn't have the ideal size per se. So they're going to have to move him around a lot, like what Penn State did. And they got to keep him off there. You're not going to see him match up against many of the top left tackles in this league. I don't think he's built for that. But as far as the right side and using him off of stunts, stuff like that, I think he has elite measurables for all that.
I mean, it's a good pick. The Giants could use damn near anything, almost everything.
And they're going to team up with Brian Burns out there already, so that's going to be a formidable line with Dexter Lawrence in the center.
They already have a lot of good pieces on that line and a lot of good pass rusher. I know Thibodeau's not quite panned out to what they had hoped, but he's still effective. Like that. Yeah. That'll be a very dangerous front seven. They have no offense if they don't go with a quarterback or an offensive player here.
Yeah, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah. But they're going to fire their coach and their GM next year anyway, right?
Because Russell Wilson is not going to recreate the magic.
No.
I mean, I could see them going at like a Will Campbell offensive tackle from New England or whatever, but I think what Abdul Carter presents for terms of talent and what he has, he's got game-changing tools. So I just don't think they'd pass on that.
Yeah. All right, who's next?
New England will take the top. We'll take the top tackle in this draft, and Will Campbell. You got to protect the blind side of Drake May. So
sure, makes sense.
Solid pick.
Yep.
Yeah. Now Jacksonville, although they probably could go edge rusher like a Javon Walker or somebody here, or a defensive lineman in is out where is he at? Mason Graham out of Michigan. But I think they take a jump at corner right here and they go with Michigan's Will Johnson right here.
I mean, isn't this another team that could use almost everything?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And so this is a matter of, they need to take the best player they can find, and it's probably Johnson.
And they're so bad at corner right now in the secondary. There's a lot of mocks out there that showing them taking either an edge or a defensive lineman, but I just don't see them going that route.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right, so that gives us the top 5. Let's get through some of these other ones that are here.
Well, pick 6 is going to be a Dallas Cowboys trading up, giving up quite a bit. And by the way, I use a site called Draft Tech, which is a draft day chart for all the values for each pick. So I'm not just making these random trades out of just making these assumptions. So I try to keep them pretty even, but typically, one team will overpay to move up and do whatever. But I see them coming up, and not for a receiver, but because their running game was so bad, or it's going to be looking to be so bad because now Dowdle is now in Carolina, which he was okay for them. They take Ashton Jeanty right here, number 6.
I actually see Jeanty going around here no matter what. I think he's going to be a top 10 guy at running back, which is a rare thing. I would hate to see him go to Dallas. I'd much rather see him go to Oakland.
Right.
Or Las Vegas. I will always
I think if the Raiders stay here, I think they'll take either Jeanty or one of the top receivers in this draft probably. Or not one of the top receivers. I have them. Well, we'll see what they have for them later, but yeah. If they stay here, I think they take him.
this would be the most Dallas thing ever to do. It really would be.
Yeah.
I mean, they would move up.
Trading?
They would move up to take a running back. I mean, Jerry Jones loves, offensive, ball handlers and put people like this. He's done it time and time again. Draft
exactly.
Ball handlers in first round. So this is not. Yeah, this is just Dave projecting, but it's not unrealistic.
And he loves a glory hole, so we all know that too. I just have to throw it in there.
How do you know that, Alex?
Because he's said it like a dozen times.
I don't think he's actually said he loves a glory hole specifically.
Yes, he has.
I think you might be projecting just a bit, but.
Dave, what did you have him trading up again?
Okay, from the 12th spot, they gave the 12th overall, a 3rd round pick, 76th overall, 5th round pick, 149th overall, and a 2026 second and a 2026 6th round pick. And the Raiders get the 6th overall pick, the 3rd, and they give up the 6th overall pick, and they give up the 3rd round pick, 68th overall, and that equates to the Cowboys. The draft capital exchange, the Cowboys would receive $1,850 in return, while they give up $1,856. So it's a pretty.
That's about even.
And for those of you who don't understand what he's doing here, so this is a real thing that NFL teams do use this chart to value picks. They don't always come out exactly equal like this. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But this is not something Dave made up. This is what NFL GMs do use this method.
And I can't remember who both of them are, but there's 2 charts that every team roughly uses.
Yeah.
Is one Jimmy Johnson who came up with it or something? It's
Jimmy Johnson came up with one. Yes.
Okay, I'm not crazy about that.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson came up with one. I'm not sure which one this one fell under, but there are 2 different charts.
I don't think this is Jimmy Johnson's. From looking at the point numbers, I don't think this is Jimmy Johnson's.
Yeah, so
my point is, this is not some stupid PFF thing they made up. This is a real thing. That's my point.
Right. Well, somebody made it up, but it actually
it's a real thing. It's not.
Yes. It's a quantitative statistical
used by NFL teams.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's jump ahead. Let's do some more of these.
Okay, pick 7, New York Jets. I was toying with the idea of Tyler Warren here. I think they could really use him, but they need help on offensive line. And what's a better choice than Armand Membu out of Missouri, offensive tackle for this one?
Okay. Don't you feel sorry for the entire Membu family?
Yes. And I do apologize. And I apologize ahead of time for that if I cause any ill will on that
one. Just ruining lives, putting people on the Jets.
I know. And then the second edge rusher will be coming off the board, the Carolina right here, with Georgia's Jalen Walker.
Good player.
I think if the Raiders stay at that pick, I think this is a possibility for them to take at that spot. If they would have passed on Ashton Jeanty, but this guy will be the Carolina pick 8.
Okay.
Now my Bo Nix draft selection here, basically because he was a surprise pick where he was drafted at last year, and I have New Orleans Saints taking Mississippi's Jackson Dart. He's got the size, arm, all the intangibles, but he's very raw in a lot of areas, and New Orleans needs a quarterback. And he's, by most, he really is probably the second best quarterback in this draft class, even though Shedeur Sanders has the higher upside.
I mean, this isn't going to work. I think I think it's too high. I'm not saying you're wrong, because one thing I learned about my month-long re-dive into draft analysis, statistical analysis, quarterbacks are, newsflash, quarterbacks are overdrafted.
Overdrafted, yes.
Yeah, and I've proven that now statistically. And this is a case of that. You wouldn't normally want to take a quarterback like Jackson Dart this high. But in a draft like this one, there's nobody but the dude over here, who's in the draft, and that's it. I mean, sometimes you have no choice. It's just they're going to have to understand that despite the fact that he's the 9th pick, they're going to have to move him really, really slowly.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I went with this because he was one of their New Orleans top 30 visits, There's been a lot of rumors that New Orleans is very enamored by him. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if New Orleans ultimately tries to move back in the draft to take him instead of right here. But either way,
on the other hand, if they like him that much, they might not mess around with it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. And I obviously have the quarterback breakdown that I did of the draft class. I like Dart better than Saunders too. I think he's a better prospect.
Yeah.
I think he reads things faster. I think he moves faster.
Mm-hmm.
Just overall, I think he fits the modern NFL better.
Yeah, and he's got that prototypical arm that you want for all levels of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly. All right, next.
Number 10, Chicago Bears. I toyed with the idea of Omarion Hampton here, but when you had Tyler Warren sitting there, he's a guy who can block. He can block. He can run block. Sorry, he can. Obviously, he's a great receiver. You can use him in the backfield all over the field. And with what Chicago did in the offseason, the offensive line, they don't have to go offensive line here. So I think Tyler Warren's a choice here. I think Ben Johnson runs to the podium for that one.
I think this is somewhat of a case of Dave trying to wish this into existence, and we'll learn why later on. There aren't a ton of tight ends taken. No. Tight end is one of the historically another thing I showed is tight end is just about the rarest position to be taken at the top of the draft. That in safety, tight ends and safeties. So it's very, very rare. Whether or not this guy is, the one or not, I haven't watched him. I've
watched him. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is a legit potential 1,000-yard tight end right off the bat, I think. So
yeah,
and with a rookie quarterback, you don't go wrong having a good tight end.
A great tight end who can be a possession guy in the middle, over the middle would be a great option.
And you saw what Ben Johnson's offense did with Sam Laporta in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So and he can utilize him the exact same way, but keep him on the field and even short yardage plays because he offers what Laporta doesn't, and he's a good run blocker. You can also use him as a fullback and as a running back as well if you ever so desired.
Yeah,
on short yardage. And San Francisco at number 11, I think they address defensive line here and go with Michigan's Mason Graham right here.
They don't go quarterback. All right.
I don't think so.
And now pick 12 with the Raiders. I toyed with the idea for Omarion Hampton here because he's a Pete Carroll guy, but they got them trading for Geno Smith, and they're going to want to make sure they keep him upright. And that Raiders offensive line wasn't exactly great last year. So they go Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle out of Texas on this one.
Are you once again trying to will into existence our Omarion Hampton being passed
up? No, actually, believe it or not, this has been some of the directions. It's either offensive line or they've gone wide receiver in some of the most recent mocks right here. I thought about the receiver out of I'm gonna butcher his name now. Is
it's all right, we're used to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Tetairoa McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
But I have him sliding down to 20 to Denver, and there's a reason for that. But I told the idea with him. I just think, you want to keep Geno Smith upright, so you got them giving him an extension and everything, and that's your best route, I think, especially with the depth at running back and wide receiver in this draft. You can, with them moving back and acquiring a second round pick or a third round pick this year, in what I did from the Cowboys, they have the cap or the draft capital in the next 2 rounds to address those needs as well.
It'd be a solid pick.
Yeah.
And number 13, Dolphins. They take probably the best safety in this draft, or is the best safety in the draft, and Malachi Starks.
Safety is another position that historically hasn't been drafted really almost at all in the first round. It really takes a pretty serious talent, like a Sean Taylor level of talent to get drafted. And is this guy it? Maybe.
It's also just not an in vogue position anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's over the past 20 years, very, very few safeties have been drafted, and in the top, especially top half are on one.
And again, I'm using this site called the mock draft database, where it goes across all like they don't account for mock drafts that you and I do. These are all from each from like your Kuipers and scouts and stuff like that, and they get a feel for the league and what.
Are you saying the hot side mock drafts are not worthwhile, Dave?
Only when no one from Tampa does it. That's it.
Yeah.
So, but whatchamacallit? But they've had stars go as high as even around the top 10. I don't see that. But you right between 13 to 15, because there's also talks about the Eagles wanting to move up to get Malachi Starks if he falls far enough back. So
that would be interesting.
Yes.
Eagles moving up. I could see the Eagles moving up too.
I don't think they're going to move up that far.
No, they won't move up that far, but they will move up at this draft at some point. I just don't know how far and where they're going to go to. But pick 14, Cincinnati Bengals to be Mikael Williams out of Georgia, edge rusher. They are in dire need of an edge rusher, and this is just the right pick for them.
How did you decide to trade with the Colts for this?
Because of the Falcons. Thank you for bringing that up. I was going to mention that because the Falcons are in dire need of an edge, and right now Mikael Williams is definitely the best edge available. So they move up to jump ahead of Atlanta Falcons, who also need an edge rusher, so they can get the guy that they want.
There you go.
I would assume they want.
There's a method to this madness, people.
Yes. So, and then now we go to the Atlanta Falcons. Who'll take an edge rusher as well, Mike Green out of Marshall.
That one, that's like one guy kind of secretly hope drops to us.
Yeah,
but he won't. So
I don't think he's going to drop all the way down that far.
Yeah.
No, he won't. And pick 16 is the receiver. Next off the board is Matthew Golden out of Texas. He's been rising up a lot of draft boards lately. He has a great combination.
He's kind of the wonderkin now, isn't he, basically?
Yes, basically, yes. And you put him opposite of Marvis Harrison Jr. out there, and you have a potential of one of the best tandems in the NFL right there between those two.
Okay, wait a minute. Can we please repeat one more time the receiver he would be opposite of in Arizona?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
There you go. Okay. Because
it was like, I said.
Did you though? I heard kind of a, that was all I got.
I heard a
yeah. Just want to make sure I heard you right.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
I'll slow down a little bit.
Let's roll through these.
I'll get rid of my lips.
Yep.
So, okay. Now we get to the Colts at pick 17. I think they definitely go tight end here. I have them possibly looking at Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron. But right now they're in dire need of offensive weapon help for a quarterback. I think will be probably won't even go the whole year as a starter for them anyway. And Anthony Richardson, but they got to get some weapons out there for him to have any chance to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I said Colston Loveland at tight end. I just said tight end and said the name. Sorry about that. Now we go Seattle, and I think right here is Jahdae Barron. I think he's ideal for Mike McDonald's defense. And it could be receiver here, maybe offensive line, but Mike McDonald, defensive coach, he's going to want that defense where he wants to be, and this guy fits the bill perfectly for that.
All right.
Tampa Bay at 19. They need a linebacker. Best linebacker in the draft is available. It makes sense that they go Jihad Campbell out of Alabama.
Did this
guy's it's a match made in heaven.
Did they intentionally name him after?
I don't think they accidentally named him Jihad. No.
I struggle to think how you're helping your child by naming your child after religious religious violence, shall we say.
I mean, if you're Muslim and it means holy warrior, like, or whatever, like maybe it's their thinking. Look, I think it's weird whenever people name their kid Jesus too. Like,
yes, but at least that's better than jihad.
Generally speaking, yes.
Jesus, the historical Jesus was not into violence.
That's true.
And you know what? We could be pronouncing it all wrong. It could be like Yahad or something like that. Yahad. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yes. It was a typo. That's all.
I do not apologize for questioning this.
No, you can question it all you like. That's fine. Yes.
Oh, I mean, the kid had to live with it his whole life. I'm sure he questioned it quite often too.
He probably did.
So
probably wanted to commit jihad against his parents for his.
It made him into a very good violent linebacker.
Yeah, there you go. It all has to do with his name.
Yeah, right. Now the Denver Broncos, in my original mock, I was really thinking if Omarion Hampton wasn't going to go to the Raiders, he would fall right here and come here. But because Tetairoa McMillan fell to this point, who some regard as the second best receiver in this draft, and you put him opposite Courtland Sutton, a weapon for Bo Nix on the outside. It's, to me, the value is there to go with McMillan over Hampton because just great overall upside and potential and what they both offer, and you want to get Bo Nix the weapons.
This is Dave screaming at fate once again.
Yep.
Continue, Dave. We'll find out where we're going. We
only have
this.
9 more teams to be like, but they could go for Hampton.
Actually, no. This is the last team that could go for Hampton from this point on.
All right, go for it.
With the exception of the one right here. We'll go.
Dave is pointing at his shirt.
Don't ruin it. We're
I'm not. Now, Pittsburgh, I think, pulls the trigger on Shedeur Sanders right here. The only problem with the pick that I have is that they have Mason Rudolph as their top quarterback. If they make this pick, I really hope they bring in a veteran guy. Even Flacco signed with somebody already, but you don't want this guy starting week 1. This guy has has a lot of potential. He does process the defenses pretty quick. He's not accustomed to processing complex defenses. He has time to grow. He needs time to grow. He's got to develop, and starting this year, I think, would be a mistake for him.
I think his biggest flaw is going to be not his ability to process, but like his athletic speed overall.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's there.
I seriously question whether or not this guy is going to make it.
Yeah. All right. So next one.
The Chargers. They go after a wide receiver because they absolutely need one out there in Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. You gotta give Justin Herbert his weapons.
Sure. It's also a good receiver draft.
Yes, it is. Number 23, Green Bay. They go edge right here with James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. Now, what's that?
Nothing. No, go ahead.
Pick 24 is an interesting spot. This is a spot where I could really see the Eagles moving up to get this safety right here from South Carolina, which is Nick Manwari, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's an ideal fit for a Fangio defense. I really think the Eagles try to move up to get this pick, but if not, if Minnesota stands back, it's either Manwari here or they pull the trigger and they draft Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, offensive tackle, one of those two.
I just generally find it hard to believe that 2 safeties are going to be drafted in round 1.
Well, actually, it's every ranking, every projection show. These are the only 2 safeties that are taken in round 1.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
I know.
Rare.
Yeah, but I kind of stuck with a lot of what they call the big boards, consensus big boards, and how I kind of with team needs and all that stuff and how they look at it. So that's how I kind of formulated all this. So, I mean, you could wind up being 1 safety taken. The final pick of this round would be the Eagles. Who knows? I think this next pick 25, is a no-brainer for Houston after losing or trading away offensive tackle and offensive guard is offensive tackle Josh Simmons out of Ohio State.
Yeah, this one's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll take the best offensive lineman off the board, absolutely.
Yeah. The Rams at 26. I think after losing a linebacker and cornerback and all the top offensive linemen going, I think they really try hard to move this pick out and get out of the first round. But if they keep it, so they have a need a cornerback, and the best available out there would be Maxwell Harrison, cornerback out of University of Kentucky.
Okay.
27 was originally the Ravens, but I have Buffalo moving up to this spot to take a defensive lineman, which is a defensive lineman, and I think I've been seeing him fall, but not quite this far. But I haven't found a real good spot for him up until this point. But Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan, I think they move up and jump all over him, get over Detroit for him.
This trade is less obvious, I think, maybe than others. So I'll be impressed if you nail this one.
So would I. Detroit, dire need of an edge after their defensive point down the stretch. They get no pressure on the quarterback, especially after they lost Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
Really exposed the rest of that defense of what they really miss in that pass rush. I think they go Texas A&M edge rusher Shamor Stewart. He's a bit raw. I think he's got a lot of work in terms of coverage and against the run. But as far as pure athletic edge rusher, once he develops more pass rush moves, I think he has a really, really good ceiling. Not super high ceiling, but a good ceiling to go opposite of Hayden Hutchinson on the other side.
All right, we're up to 29. I can't. I wonder who Dave's going to pick for Washington. I have no idea. It's a mystery.
29, dude. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer. I keep talking so much about the kicker out of Miami, right? I mean, this is such an ideal spot.
Dave, stop reading my column.
My bad. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Let me get back to mine. My bad. Now listen. I honestly, I don't see really Omarion Hampton making this far. I think the fallback is going to be TreVeyon Henderson, and that's a guy that I would love to see at this spot as well for a pick. But as of right now, the way it looks, I'm starting to align with quite a few other people thinking Omarion Hampton is going to fall back to the end of this first round, and Washington takes him.
You all think I was just making fun of Dave with this screaming at fate thing from earlier in the show?
No.
This is where we were going. My annual one single mock draft I did, which I do every year.
Mm-hmm.
I had TreVeyon Henderson. Same philosophy. This guy was not. Omarion Hampton was not available.
Well, my original one had TreVeyon Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
That was my original, but watching what these guys, what everyone's talking about with Omarion Hampton and what teams, some of the surprise picks, the risers and fallers, and how things just kind of laid out in the draft. I think ultimately, if it's not Chicago, Denver, unless they have a better option, Denver would be an ideal landing spot for Omarion Hampton if he gets even to the 20s. But we'll see.
All right. The official pick for Washington.
Yeah.
Omarion Hampton.
And I think if they can get him, that's a great pick. It really would be. They need a stud running back. So.
Yep.
I'd be A-okay with drafting one late in the first round. There's those people who still hate drafting running backs in the first round. I don't get it.
I mean, the one thing I think I've showed in my data is, one, people are leery of drafting running backs. There's not a lot of them, but however, they have just about the highest success rate of any position group.
Right.
In any position group, and it's probably because teams are more selective, and they don't, and they're only picking the true talents. But it's typically very safe to pick a running back in round one.
Yeah.
Right. Which goes contrary to
O-line is usually pretty good.
Running back is a lot better.
Oh, sure.
Baltimore, to the dismay of the Kansas City Chiefs, will take probably the last remaining really good offensive tackle in this draft, and Josh Connolly Jr. out of Oregon. Staley's 31 years old, so you can you can take Connolly, move him to the right side, move the right tackle. I think will be a better fit. From what I read out of Baltimore, it'd be a better fit at guard anyway. And now you have a left tackle to groom sitting at right tackle. When Staley's done, you move him over, and boom, I think this is an ideal pick for them.
All right.
And 31, since they can't get the tackle they want, I think they go offensive guard here at North Dakota State, Gray Zanville. After that Super Bowl, they know they got to protect Mahomes a little bit better than what they have.
Just a little.
I would say a lot better, but continue.
Yeah. And Philadelphia Eagles, who I think ultimately is going to move up in this draft. I think we'll just take the next best available defensive lineman in Mississippi's Walter Nolan.
There we go, kids. We have officially made it through the entire round one on our pre-draft coverage. I think the reason why I wanted to go through this whole exercise is, nobody's going to get all these right, obviously.
No, if you get Dave 3, that's a good year.
Yeah, but this is, I think Dave has more or less hit the group of people it's going to be for the most part. And so I think this is, if you haven't paid a ton of attention to the draft, even if the order is a little wrong because it's just inevitable, this is the group of people you need to pay attention to.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to call an audible here on our order of our schedule. And because we do have the position group stuff to get through, I'm going to do that quickly.
Yeah, run through that.
Yeah, we're going to run through this. Here's the thing, folks. The last position group breakdown is special teams and quarterbacks. Why? Because we actually don't need a quarterback.
This is the first year since we've ever done this that I haven't done quarterbacks because I got bored with it because we don't need a quarterback.
Right. And which weirdly means I've done pretty much all the offensive skill positions other than running back this year. That's very strange. But, we'll live with it. It's fine. All right. I'm going to start with kickers because much to, Steve's chagrin, it would be better if they drafted a kicker in round 7 than if they drafted a quarterback in round 7.
Okay, that's true. I'll give you that.
Yeah. All right. There's really 4 kickers who are possible candidates. I'll be honest. Even I am in the camp of don't draft a kicker. Just make it a priority signing after the draft's over.
Yeah, it's a really dumb thing to do for the most part.
Generally speaking, because for some reason it takes these guys a while to develop into the NFL. So the top kicker this year easily is Ryan Fitzgerald out of Florida State. Ridiculously accurate throughout his career. 97.8% accuracy on extra points. And, his accuracy was a little less on field goals through his career, but last season he was perfect on field goals. Good big leg. So he would be my number 1. The number 2 guy is the kicker out of Miami, Borregales. Little guy from a kicking family. His brother was also a kicker at Miami.
The kicking Orgaleses.
Yeah. He is a.
When you say little guy, how little is he? Is
he's
like
5'11".
Height or that's
no, he's 5'11". Kickers can be small. Like kickers don't have to be big guys.
I thought when you said little, I thought you were going to say 4'10" or something.
No.
Can you imagine?
He's of average height.
He's a 1.5 feet taller than me. That's awesome.
He's taller than me.
Yeah. Also a guy though who's got a great career of being highly accurate. 86% on his field goals in his career. He also has the record now at Miami for most points scored. The third guy, and this is the last guy I would really want to see Washington maybe go after, would be Ben Sauls out of Pitt. Another guy who's like 5'10", so, a little smaller. Not as accurate through most of his career, but I always would rather... I'll give some slack to a guy who plays at a school like Pitt, where he's going to have to play in bad weather, which makes kicking harder, let's be honest, versus these warm weather guys who, they've never struggled a day in their life with, snow or cold.
Just a bunch of entitled brats.
Yes. It's why the South loses every war it fights in the end. It's because it's just too warm. They don't know how to handle bad weather.
That was it. That's why the Civil War went wrong.
It is. It really is.
For them.
Yep.
Good for the rest of us, just to be clear.
Great for the rest of us.
Yeah.
But Not for them. There is a kid, Caden Davis out of Ole Miss. He's another candidate. I don't think he's exceptionally great, but he's got a good, strong leg. I will give him that. Like, if you're just looking at leg power, he's that guy. I covered punt returners in this. We talked about some of them when I talked about wide receivers, so I'm not even going to get into it. Let's talk quarterbacks, because I think quarterbacks is probably the most interesting of this whole article.
I would just like to point out before you do that, we just spent more time talking about kickers than all of the other draft analysts have combined.
That's fair. And I'm not. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to talk about long snappers or punters on the show.
You probably do know. Is it in there? I haven't read your column.
I mentioned them, but it's not a great class for long snappers.
I still think I have you beat on the nerd.
You will always have me beat, because as much as I'm a special teams nerd, I'm not calling a dude about long snappers. All right, so quarterbacks. Obviously, we all know Cam Ward's going to be 1-1, so like it's not even worth getting too much into that, other than that he's going to be the number one pick. Really good player, though. He is an athletic, like in that Jaden Daniels vein, in the what everyone's going after. He's not that kind of runner, though. He's more of like a running back style runner. He runs more compact. I am with Dave. I like Jackson Dart probably to go. I like him more than I like Shedeur Sanders. We talked about that briefly. I don't know about him going top 10, but I just think he's a better overall prospect. Sanders, I would say, is probably my third, but he'll go top 10 because of the name and because of the reputation. The guy I really like in this class, though, is the one I have fourth on my list, and that's Will Howard out of Ohio State. When you watch him play, he plays with good rhythm, and you know how I always obsess with that with quarterbacks. I loved it when Kirk Cousins was our quarterback here in DC, because I always thought when he understood the offense, he played quickly in it. He's always like kind of on his feet. His dropbacks are always right on time, and he's going drop back, hit it, drop back, hit it. Like that's what I mean by rhythm. Like he's not looking around once he's dropping back. He's getting the ball out quickly. After that, I think there's a pretty good drop off. And Howard, like I said, I think he's a developmental prospect, kind of in that Kirk Cousins vein. If you sat him for a year, he could turn into something. After that, I think there's a pretty big drop off to guys who are probably career backups, like Ewers out of Texas, McCord out of Syracuse. And then I think you have an even bigger drop off after that. Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. Fun to watch, but he's 5'11", and he doesn't have a great arm. He has an okay arm, but like short with a below average arm.
That doesn't lend itself to success in the NFL and quarterbacking.
No, it does not.
Right.
It does not. The opposite of that, though, Tyler Schlau, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his. I think it's Shog out of Louisville. He is 6'5" and plays like a giant. Like you remember those old school quarterbacks like Kerry Collins back in the day? Just the guys who stand there in the pocket. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to stand there.
Frankenstein standing there.
Yeah, exactly. But they stand very upright. They can see the whole field and they can dart it around. So these are all guys who are backups. I think from here on out. Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame, Jalen Morrow out of Alabama. I don't particularly. I see him going in a lot of drafts in like the high second rounds. The kid out of Alabama.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah,
I don't get it.
That's just because of the school.
I guess so. Because I don't see anything there. His numbers last year: 2,844 yards, 16 touchdowns, 11 picks. Why is he even being considered in like anything out of the 5th round or later?
Well, he just fits the mold for today's NFL. A strong arm guy who's athletic, can run.
Yeah, he can run.
You could probably build. He's a guy that a lot of scouts, I think, look at. Well, if we get him in the right situation, give him like 2 years to develop, there could be something there in 3 years.
Maybe. I would not be. I would not put my marbles in that basket.
Right.
There's a couple other guys I just mentioned their stats in there because everyone after this is like a 7th rounder or drafted.
Yeah, just blow through those.
Yeah.
At best.
I'm not even going to bother.
All right.
That's what I'll say. There's a kid from Florida State who I was excited to watch at first. He's 6'4", 252. DJ Ungali or something like that. Yeah. By the way, he's worse than his name sounds. He is like, I was like, at 6'4", 252, you should play tight end. And then you try and watch him. Oh no, he can't run. Oh no, he can't break tackles. I don't know why anyone would draft this kid. I'm just gonna make fun of him. So I'll just say punters real quick. There's one good punter in this class, and that's Crenshaw out of Florida, and he's a good punter because what is it? The thing I always love: high inside the 20 touchback or inside the 20 percentage versus a low touchback percentage. 42% of his kicks landed inside the 20, only 6% or almost 7% were touchbacks. So that's what you want from a punter. Your net yardage is fun, and seeing a big kick is fun, but you really want a guy who's got that special accuracy where they're pinning guys back. So
now we've talked more about punters than any other mock draft site combined.
Listen, if Tress Way didn't have another 8 years left in his career, this is the guy you go for.
I'll say, I was going to say, you probably made your boyfriend a little jealous talking that long about another punter.
Is he dating Tress Way now? I mean,
I didn't know I was dating Tress Way now. Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, he's back on that wagon, I think.
I don't think there's a Temple guy. There's not a Temple guy on Washington right now, so I mean, you're gonna have to find a new man.
No, there is McGee, the linebacker.
Yeah, Jordan McGee.
Oh yeah, you're right.
There's still a Temple guy here. We're good.
And there's another one. Jacob Martin is a Temple guy too, the defensive lineman they signed.
Oh right. He did. Yep.
Maybe you can tag team or something. Yeah.
Oh, threesome there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tag team.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Sadly, Steve, no one from your alma mater's ever been drafted by the team.
No one knows what my alma mater is.
But I do, and I know that. All right, let us talk about the last topic we had to put on the list. Jaden Daniels did an interview with Jon Gruden. Not Jay, John. Good interview, 20-minute interview. You can find it on Jon Gruden's website, which I didn't write down because I'm, lazy. So, it's worth watching. Although, can I be honest? Gruden's becoming a character of himself.
A character, you mean?
Yeah, he was a bit odd in that interview.
He's been a bit odd for like the last 2 years, and I don't know if he knows that.
Alex chose to send this to us like late
this afternoon in the middle of the workday. As soon as I found out about
I actually have not seen any of it, so I'm learning along with everyone else here.
By the way, it's Gruden Goes Long is his site.
Yes, that's the name of his YouTube video series that he's doing.
There's so many jokes with that.
Yeah. Well, he's still not allowed on network television for what happened. So now he's got to do YouTube stuff.
And just the Gruden Goes Long thing. There's jokes built into that when you're talking about Jon.
Oh, I'm sure he put the double entendres in there on purpose.
I have no doubt. So tell us about the interview itself, though, Alex.
Yeah. All right. So look, there's a lot of standard quarterback speech throughout the interview. There were some interesting things that Daniels put out there that I thought at least were interesting. Gruden asked him when he felt like he was starting to get comfortable in the NFL and to make the next step in his progression. He actually said it was the 3-game losing streak that helped him the most. That feeling of losing and struggling helped him kind of push himself up to the next level as a quarterback.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a good thing for him to learn that because these top quarterbacks, they win all the time. They won practically every game in high school. Jayden Daniels from LSU, which is a high quality team. He's never lost. Right. I think learning how to lose is a thing. Learning how to lose and recover from losses is good. Right. And if Jayden Daniels, he seems like a really smart guy, and if that's something he can pick up in 3 games, God bless him. It's better for the team.
Oh yeah. I mean, another thing he was saying on that note, related note, was that like his big thing for this offseason has been self-scouting and eliminating his own tendencies that he can find in his game so that he's less predictable against opponents next year.
Just think of what a stark contrast this guy is compared to the last number 2 overall pick Washington drafted, who was making commercials and praising himself and everything else.
Yeah, no, I think that Daniels is definitely one of the more cerebral quarterbacks. One of the things that we all know Jaden Daniels loves the VR thing. You remember that?
Yeah, he's into it.
Yeah. So now they spent like the second half of this video talking about a new shoe he's into that helps his feet recover from things.
That's a bit much.
It's a shoe that you plug in. I assume it's USB. I couldn't tell from the video. But you plug it in and it'll heat up your foot. Like if, let's say, your back heel's injured, it heats up that area to keep, heat on it. And it actually, the boot massages your foot if you need it to.
Couldn't he just hire some hot young chippy to be his
foot massager? We all know what happens when you do that.
Yeah, you become
you live in Houston. You know better than most what happens when guys do that.
I'm just joking, people. Calm down. Yeah. I've never heard of this new shoe thing, but Jaden Daniels seems to be into all modern technology that Alex and I, as older people, could not possibly appreciate.
Jaden Daniels will be the first cyborg quarterback.
Maybe he already is a cyborg. He's plugging himself in to the wall with his shoes already, so maybe he's a cyborg.
Right. I think, but 2040, Jaden Daniels will have robotic eyes. He'll have replaced his eyes with like infrared predator.
He's going to be the Terminator. By the way, Dave got mad that I made fun of his height one too many times, so he had to bow out here. So we've lost Dave for the rest of the show.
We'll see if we have lost Dave. We should mention
that. Or alternatively, he may have had a personal issue he had to take care of. One of those two things is true.
Right. 50-50. So it was very funny because Daniels has the shoe, and then I keep wanting to say Jay Gruden. John Gruden started talking like shoulder pads on this show.
He's like the most old-fashioned dude ever when it comes to that stuff too, Gruden.
Yeah.
It's a very stark contrast.
Oh, but he's all in on it now.
Is he though? I mean,
he put the shoes on the show.
I gotta admit, I'd like to feel them. I really would.
I'd be curious about the massaging part, yeah.
Or the heat part,
Both, sure.
And of course, if it goes horribly wrong and you could get like electrocuted or like, burn your foot or something, I don't know. See, I'm distrusting of stuff like this.
Sure. Well, so it looks like, do you remember the Back to the Future shoes from Back to the Future 2?
I remember the Emmett Brown character was wearing crazy shoes. Is that what you're talking? No, it was, or was it the Marty McFly? I can't remember. One of them.
It looks more like the Marty McFly one.
Okay.
The high tops that he had in the future.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, is now like 6 years ago. The future.
It was 2015, was it not?
I think it was. So it's almost 10 years ago.
A lot of that didn't come true. Just for
we don't have flying cars, man. I'm very disappointed that we don't have.
I would love to have a flying car.
Yeah, especially if it was cool like a DeLorean.
Of course, being a licensed pilot myself, I can tell you I would not trust 99.99999% of the public with a flying car.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't trust myself, frankly, with it.
I wouldn't trust you either.
Yeah.
No. At least you're not going to intentionally do something crazy.
No.
So I can trust you in that regard, but with no experience, I mean, flying cars are a horrible idea.
From an actual practical standpoint, yes, it's a
unless you have an Elon Musk remotely piloted flying car.
Well, so that's the only way it'll ever happen.
We'd have to get Elon to come up with it.
Yeah, we'd have to get somebody who understands like they all have to be networked together, and you're not actually doing anything.
When he's done tearing apart the government, please work on a remotely piloted flying car.
Well, he's got to stop like in 3 days or something. For reasons.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right.
How'd we get on this topic?
Because we were talking about Back to the Future 2.
And we got on that because Jane Dan's wearing crazy shoes.
And then it's back to Iron Eagle.
There you go, where it's full circle again.
A lot of 80s movies references here. Iron Eagle's 80s, right? That's not 70s.
80s. No, it was 80s.
Yeah. Yes. And Iron Eagle 2, also 80s.
Yes.
And Iron Eagle 3, The Revenge of the Iron Eagle.
There were a bunch of Iron Eagles. Yeah, I think, weren't there?
I don't even think they're flying planes by the fifth one. I think they're just they're in a boat for some reason. It's a
well,
thing.
It's kind of like the second Speed movie was about a slow moving boat.
Right. Things just fall apart after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, but so Jane Daniels, we're still in Jane Daniels.
Overall, just look, he's a smart quarterback. He knows how to handle these press
It's more than that he's smart. He's actually serious, and that's what's most important.
Oh yeah. I think he's serious about. Like I've said before, I think he's just a football playing machine.
He's not he's not a goofball.
No.
And he's not like Chase Young had a horrible attitude from around day one.
Right.
He's all about himself, doing commercials and all that. Jane Daniels seems to be only about football. And if he uses technology in a way that you and I wouldn't, I mean, good for him.
And he's using it in ways that so far have helped him.
Yeah. The VR thing is obviously going to help.
And look, we saw the video. He had video of him at one of his friends, Brandon Ayuk's wedding, and they're having fun. Like he's a goofball when he wants to have fun with his friends. He's a normal human being. The only thing that's weird about him is that his mom's always around. That's the only, and it's a little weird.
You could do worse than having your mom in your life.
Yeah, sure.
At least he doesn't have a bunch of bimbos around him that's going to distract.
Well, that's what his mom's there for.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, it's the better option is to have your mom around.
Right. I agree. So that was, my thumbnail of the interview.
A word I need to apologize for? I don't think so.
No, I think you're fine with bimbos. Bimbos is probably the least offensive word to call some of the women who loiter around to try and
there's a whole bunch
NFL
of words
players
that are going through my name, through my head right now, and bimbos is probably the least offensive. That's true.
Yes. So yeah, that was a good one. Before we
the title's going to be Steve calls Jane Daniels' girlfriend's bimbos.
Well, we don't know if he has a girlfriend.
That's true. Yeah, it's not. That's not an appropriate title.
So Steve calls imaginary girl bimbo.
There you go. That's it.
Who was the guy who had the imaginary girlfriend? I can't remember. The linebacker who had the imaginary.
Oh, it was the from the Chargers, Manti Te'o.
Yes, you called his imaginary girlfriend a bimbo. That's just wrong,
there you go. It's just rude.
Before we wrap up, you want to give the salary cap?
Yeah.
You found out that you missed some numbers, and so you got a new total.
I just had to correct some numbers, and the big news was that Washington actually redid Deebo Samuel's contract a few weeks ago. That's the one I missed. And so the bottom line is, after I recalculated everything and took into account the real 20-year rule of 51 and blah blah blah, Washington's up now, including the rookie pool, up to a little over $23 million in free cap space now. That's the bottom line.
So without the rookie pool, they probably got 15 million ish.
No. Rookie pool meaning included in it already. 23 million. Without it, they're up about 27. Most of that is thanks to Deebo and a couple other contracts.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
So that's where Washington is. Still not enough money for them to sign some of the crazy trade things that people are talking about.
No, Washington under no circumstances is going to go under about 8 to 10. They just never do, and they they always want to have a pad. Granted, this is a new administration, so who knows? But I would be shocked if they went under 10.
Yeah, maybe if somebody gets cut late and is a free agent, that you're just like, well, we got to get that guy.
Yeah, or somebody gets hurt and they have to trade for someone, something like that.
Right. But that's why you have the pad space.
That's exactly right.
Right. All right. So that wraps it up, guys. I hope we all enjoy the draft. It's going to be a late night for us as Washington fans.
It always is. It never is.
It usually is. But when we picked number 2, we know what happened.
But see, I'm the draft nerd that almost always watches every single pick.
I try to, but I'll be honest. It's tough to stay up on a Thursday night.
I've done it, but when I really get sick of it is late Saturday afternoon, and I find I'm struggling to stay in front of the TV because my thought has always been I'm always the one that has to monitor it for the site, and so it's I have to keep a half an eye out to see if Washington trades up or something, and it's a miserable experience. It's a slog to get through it by Saturday afternoon.
Especially now because all their picks are in round 7. It seems like this.
Yeah, well, and by the time they get to round 7, even the analysts are sick of it, and so they're talking about anything but that. They don't even really pay attention to the picks by end of round 7.
Right. You actually have to pay attention because all you hear is do 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 do.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could do on my phone, and so there's got to be an easier way.
I wish that honestly by pick or round 6, it should be like a 1-minute thing.
It really should. There's no reason to
speed it up so much more.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about it all after the draft. We will be breaking down all the picks and all the trades, and Washington somehow ending up with 8 franchise players that we didn't know they were going to have.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Right. Somehow we traded up and didn't lose anything, and we got the first 5 picks.
They just got handed over.
Yes. That's what the NFL does, right? It's like the NBA?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is exactly right.
Okay, guys, we will talk to you all next week.
Bye.